Well, good morning, everyone. This is Jennifer Sanchez from the Wise Morning Coffee Chat Show. Yes, we are on a little late. I apologize, but we have amazing topics to discuss, me and Nora today. It's just me and you, Nora. Just me and you today. Me and the co-host just chit-chatting with all the viewers, which is great. This is good, more intimate conversations. So, who am I? My name is Jennifer Sanchez. I am the founder of the Women's Institute of Self-Development and Efficacy, WISE for short. Now that I think about it, I never say I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I have 3 kids, one of which is a year and a half. Um, I am a homeowner. Like, what are the things that we say, right? Like, I'm trying to think, like other items to
Yeah.
say. So yes, so that's who I am. We've created this amazing community to just promote amazing women and just have great conversation over a cup of coffee. So that's who I am. Nara, can you introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Nara Diaz. I am currently a stay-at-home mom. I'm a new wife and 5 months postpartum. As of today, literally 5 months postpartum exactly. And I'm is it Wise cohort 3? I'm a Wise alumni, right? A Wise alumni, and Jesus is my king.
Yay. Nara's been with us for a while. She's been part of the community since I want to say 2019. Is that how long you've been around the community? I want to say.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, you actually. I let me give a little history of how Nara's involvement of the WISE community. She's actually one of when we wanted to go to downtown and we wanted to kind of establish a location, she's the one that helped us get out there and create meetings in like central, like downtown Chicago, which was awesome. So she's a big supporter of WISE, and I will forever be grateful of how she supported WISE and WISE meetings and stuff like that. We used to do a lot of pre-COVID meetings, but then COVID changed everything up and we had to
Yeah.
switch our business. So um, thank you, Nara, for always supporting us and sticking around for so many years. We appreciate you. Um, and she got baby now. She got baby. She married now, and she's doing all that mommy stuff, and it's awesome to watch. So let's talk about. We have to talk about coffee time. That's the whole purpose of our show. We Why? I don't know. I guess I'm more energized with coffee.
Yeah.
Uh, when I've always had meetings with women, I don't know about you, Nora, it was always in the morning over coffee. That's just kind of how it always went. So
Okay.
why not have a show where we're in the morning when we're drinking coffee? Like that was the only common sense thing to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, so what are you drinking, Nora?
I have my iced coffee with sweet foam and
Mm.
sugar-free hazelnut. There's no protein today. I ran out, and I haven't gone to Costco yet.
Oh, that sounds yummy. So if you guys are watching, share what you're drinking. I know I see Yamalet's with us this morning. She put good
Good
morning, ladies.
morning.
You're here nice and early. I know you were partying last night, girlfriend. Uh,
Oh, was she really?
I think
Look
she,
at Yama.
yeah, Yamalet. I'm just, stalkerish a little bit. Just saying. So yeah, she's drinking her Dunkin' Donuts at home with hazelnut. Very yummy. Yum, 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 yum. So what am I drinking? I am drinking again my what is it called? My mocha. Okay, frappe. Hold up. Hot frappe mocha from Octavia, whatever this thing is. It's a drink that's coming with the program that I'm on to lose weight right now. So, and this is part of, I'm testing out Yesenia's program. She was our guest like 2 weeks ago. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm checking out her product because I really need to like drop weight drastically. Like I'm just tired of it. Like I'm just tired of my post baby weight has not left. I don't know. I know this is your first kid, Nara, but like after the third, it's like dang, this fat is stubborn. Like, leave my body already. Like, you need to go. So I'm
That's
trying
what I've
that.
heard.
Yeah, it's hard. It's harder. I think my metabolism is really slow, and I'm fit. I'm very active. I eat pretty healthy. Once in a while, I might indulge, but I'm not like an overindulger. So I need something to kick this off. And I just want to announce I've lost 10 pounds already. I think I'm at. So
Since like
it's
this month.
a week and a half. Yeah, like this thing really knocks. Like, I know a lot of it's water weight. I'm not gonna be like, yeah, I lost all this fat. Like I,
You got to get that water out, though. Got
yeah,
to get that water out sometimes. It can't just stay in your body.
exactly. But I'm happy to say that's how much I've lost. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try this out for another month. And my goal is 3 months. I'll give you guys a report and see how I look. In three, you'll see my face. My face will be the first thing that changes. So
Yeah. I mean, I noticed that from pre-COVID, when I used to see you all the time, to now just seeing you like once over the past weekend, that I thought that you had lost a lot of weight.
Oh, thank you. See, that was so sweet. When she told me that, you made my day. You will always make a woman's day when you tell them, "You look good, you lost weight."
Yeah.
Always.
I mean, yeah, I really did. I was like, wow.
Oh,
And
thank
your
you.
face, when you said that you lose it in your face, I do think your face, see on the camera, when you do Zoom meetings for a year, that's a little deceiving. You can't really see. You're used to seeing a person's face, but then I was like, oh my gosh, I really thought you had lost a lot of weight.
Oh, thank you. Yay, that's encouraging. So then all of this is worth it. All of this is worth it. So thank
Yeah.
you, Nara. So if you guys are just jumping on, don't forget, share what you're drinking with us. So I'm drinking that, and I need to make sure I promote our sponsors who are giving us a 20% discount code Cafe Ama. Great coffee. I love their coffee. I usually I'm drinking it around 1 or 2 p.m. because I need that like crack type coffee. I'm joking, it's not crack, but you know what I mean, like that spice,
Strong,
that
strong, yeah.
strong coffee. So 100% of sales go to entrepreneurship education programs for women and children in Puerto Rico. So that is super awesome. We need something like that in Mexico, right? So cafeama.com, code Y. So make sure you check them out. And this is awesome. I see ladies conversating already. I see Jamalette. She said it was fun. About her
She's fun.
party. She is fun. Angel said, "Yay, that's awesome." Gemma said, "I have the products. I haven't been consistent. Congratulations." Yeah, I call them astronaut food. That's what I've been calling it. It's basically astronaut food. Um, Angel said, "I
I
saw
don't know
it
if that's a promotion or not, though.
is I got the little pouches. I was telling, over the weekend when we saw each other, one of the other moms that was there was like, "Oh yeah, it's also like the military style food." I didn't know
Oh,
military
yeah,
ate
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Um, so that's
Astronaut,
awesome.
military. Makes
Astronaut,
sense.
yeah. Um, so yeah, Jamalissa,
Yeah.
I noticed your face. Thank you, ladies. You guys are so sweet. So and your legs are so skinny. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much. I need to hear that in my stomach though. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
I mean, look, I feel like I can relate to that because my stomach is all sorts of like that extra layer of skin
That's
that
that
you
baby.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like there now. And I thought I had a tight body, like a fit body. So I can relate. I'm like looking at that, like, oh, that is so gross. How do I get that layer of skin? Like, just go back in.
I think all moms they struggle with that, right? Like you stretch your stomach out, then you lose the weight, then you have that little like flab. And it's like
Yeah.
awkward. Like, what do you do with this thing like hanging over your body? That's too much information, I guess. Like the way I'm
Sorry,
describing
ladies. Yeah, it is. It's weird. It's weird. Loose
it.
skin or something. Or
It
is it
is.
called a fupa? Is that what the fupa is? Is that what it is?
No, you did it. She did.
I
She
didn't.
totally said that right now. Um, I don't
Sorry, I should have Googled it first.
I don't want to say what FUPA stands for, but y'all
But
can
it's not
Google
that.
that.
It's
I
not
don't.
that.
It's not that. That's a little different.
Sorry, ladies. I have no clue what I'm talking. I'm a new mom. I'm a new mom. I'm a new
Oh,
mom.
yeah, but we all know what you're talking about. If you've had a baby, you know what we're talking about. And if you don't have that, congratulations. Like we admire you because Angel said, she put no, LOL. Fupa is definitely something else.
I have to Google this now. I hope I
Yeah.
didn't just mortify myself on social media.
She put love this. This is real life, ladies. Exactly. We're talking about real stuff we have to deal with, which some of us have to deal with the fupas, but I don't want to talk about the fupas. It's the wrong word to use. Uh, it's okay. Let's go into our conversations. I think these are gonna be, and I know I didn't get to announce what we were gonna talk about. Let us
It's a
know when you.
surprise.
It's a surprise.
Suspense.
It's just yes, there you go. So this is a topic that Nara presented to me, and I was like, oh my god, I wasn't even aware of this. So Nara can explain it more in depth for sure.
So, our mayor, our beloved Chicago loves Lori Lightfoot, and our beloved Chicago mayor announced that she was refusing. Um, she was only giving interviews to people of color. And the media as a whole is really really divided on this, because there are, like, I was reading an article from a Latino gentleman that said that he was going to stand in solidarity with his not coworkers, but just with people in the industry, because he knows how hard of an industry it is, and that they've worked really really hard. Um, and I know that it was some sort of mention of the white male bias in the Chicago media, that she wants to take a stance and that she's trying to change the dynamics and get more people of color involved. But like, there are some people that are like, we're like, you don't have to take that on for us. And then she's also being accused of racism from white people, anti-white racism. And there's a technical term that was not a quote. I don't know what the term. I think it was anti-white racism. So, and then I was telling you, like, my husband and I had a whole discussion on this, because my husband is of color and I'm not, and like, the mayor's wife is white to my knowledge, and I'm white. I was like, if you did that, like, I don't know how I would be like feeling, because like your daughter's half white.
Yeah. I guess I could see why she's doing it, but I think the approach might not be the best approach because there is such a thing as reverse racism, and I think not enough people are taught. They talk about it. I guess especially with everything that's going on in the in politics and everything that's going on with Black Lives Matter. I remember when I was when I was in my undergrad days at UIC in one of my African American studies, there is such thing as reverse racism, which, it's minority groups, are against, other white, right? Privileged white folks. So, um, but sometimes we don't talk about it, and it's like a touchy subject because you feel like, oh my god, if I say, well, you're being racist, right? Like okay, I was watching Dangerous Minds. Anyone know Dangerous Minds here?
Oh
Right.
my gosh, I love
Okay.
that song.
Dangerous Minds. Well, it was a movie in the 90s, really popular, blah, 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 right? And
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer was in it. So she was like the hot
Julio.
90s chick. Yeah. Yeah. So you know the characters, right? Well, there was a lot of scenes where they would call her like, oh, white bread, or they would call her these like derogatory terms. And it's like, you wouldn't be able to say this to someone of, the African American, right? You wouldn't be like, "Hey, Beaner," you can't be saying those things in media. It would be inappropriate if someone white was saying it to someone that was a minority. You'd get into a lot of hot water, right? And
Cancel culture.
We've seen it. We've seen it, right? We've seen it even now. Like someone in media that's white that says something like says the N word, they'll be canceled quick, right? We've seen like the president of the NAACP, who, the whole culture appropriation, like they canceled her real quick. Like once they realized she wasn't black. Like, so how do you
Sharon
like?
Osbourne.
Oh yeah, Sharon Osbourne with her recent. What did she say? I don't even remember. We talked about it. I already forgot.
Yeah. Like, oh, she was sticking up for Pierce Morgan, trying to be like
Oh
Wyatt,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then she was like begging the other co-hosts to like tell her like, tell me what was so wrong with it, tell me, and she just like wouldn't let it go, and then everybody just stopped and was like staring at her like crickets.
Yeah, and I guess for like it is a tough subject, and I invite people. I know people want to engage and conversate, and if you're bold to share your feedback, go for it. Like I'm a tough girl, right? So I don't take, to me, criticism is like cool. Like if that's your opinion, I'm good with it. So I guess I want to open up the platform for those that are watching on how they feel, because it does feel like you cannot say anything because anything might be perceived incorrectly. So Chicago Mayor Lightfoot, I mean, I think she's been doing a good job. I haven't really heard anything like negative about her besides this for the first time, right? Like this is the first thing I've heard like where it's like, well, if she's refusing to speak to white journalists, male journalists, I don't know if that's the right approach.
Yeah, and also it's, if she wanted to do this, I would have waited like a year, or I would have waited, excuse me, sorry, so sorry, how embarrassing. I would have waited until Christmas time or something, because like the pandemic is still not over. Like there's everybody's still being affected, and that's people's money.
Yeah.
Just looking at it from that, and I'm not saying don't take the stance or when is the right time to take that stance or whatever, but like I just have to, I wonder what those household conversations are, because like her wife is white, and as a white wife of a man of color, I was just like kind of like took aback. I kind of felt the little shock waves there a little bit, um from that. And then the media is really divided, because there's reporters of color coming forward and saying, that they had interviews with her that they didn't accept because they're standing in solidarity with people of their industry. Now,
Mm,
for me, do we have any comments yet?
I haven't seen any.
Okay, so for me, like I think Lori Lightfoot's a little older. I know that she's not like in her 40s. She has like white hair. I
I
mean,
don't know.
I guess,
I don't
but
know,
like,
Grace.
yeah, maybe like there was a time, because I remember Oprah talking about this, about like how people would try to kept trying to cancel Oprah because she was like fat and she was black, and like nobody wanted to hear that and stuff. Um and I know that she got her start, like she went big time like in the late 80s. So I'm just wondering if this is something that Lori Lightfoot has sit back and seen her whole life, that this is not just something that like just happened, like and that she's always kind of wanted to take a stance for. And now that she finally has this platform that she's doing, and it's kind of like a buildup of her whole life of something that she's seen.
Hmm.
I don't know. But I do,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, no, no. Keep going.
I noticed when I was reading the article, the Latino male journalist saying that he wasn't going to take it and why he didn't, and it was an opinion based. He happened to be a millennial, so he was about 35 and under. I just wonder if it's like a generation thing. I'm sure that she's seen things that you and I haven't seen, is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah. I see some comments coming in. I'm going to show them right now. I guess.
Yeah.
And again, I know that, like I said, this is a tough subject, right? And I know that, you know, in my mind, I'm thinking you plan press conferences. I'm just saying, right? You have an office, you have different departments in your office, you have staff that work in different departments, you have team members that handle, right? So, like, you have your PR team, you have your team that creates your marketing, you have your team that uh, puts together the press conference. You have the team that puts the media alert together that says, hey, media, we're going to be here on such and such date at this time. Come and ask questions. If her concern is she wants to have more exposure with the minority community, right? I would assume that you would want to invite more of black and brown journalists into that office where they do the press conference, right? That's an approach. Like, we know that there's Telemundo. We know that at least here, right in Chicago, Telemundo, and you got Univision, and then you got, what are the extra newspaper? I know Extra's not here no more. I'm trying to think of all the media outlets that are Latino based, but you need to make sure that you're inviting all the newspapers that are Latino and Black. You got to invite all, right? And then just that's what I would think. I guess that's a question of who is coming to the table. Like, what media is coming to the table? Who is she inviting out? Is she making sure that all the black and brown oi newspaper, right? Is she making sure that they're all being invited there and being present? Because there's a lot of black and brown news outlets in Chicago, a lot. And the only reason why I know is because I used to handle that when I used to work also in the nonprofit world. So I don't know.
So I
So
wonder if that's what she's trying to do. Is she trying to give them more exposure and only send the invites to them
it's
to get
possible.
them exposed more? You
It's
see,
possible. There's an actual department. Every news station has a department just to follow her. So wherever the mayor goes, they already have assigned reporters that follow her. Like, literally, because I remember one time when I worked in the nonprofit world, I put an event together, and was the mayor involved? I believe the mayor was somehow involved before Lightfoot. Yeah, because we would always be involved in politics in that organization. As they were very political. So I remember like inviting, like, oh, the mayor's gonna be here. What's his name? I forgot his name already.
Ram,
Yeah, Ron and
Emmanuel, or
Emmanuel. Yeah,
something.
Ron Emmanuel's gonna be here such and such date. I put the press release out, blah blah blah. And I remember talking to a reporter, and they were like, "Yeah, we have assigned people. They'll go wherever he goes. Don't worry about it." I was like, "Oh, well then, cool. Then he don't be here. Come
Yeah.
over here, right?" Like that was all my thought. I was just trying to get exposure for my organization. Um, so it's interesting. It's interesting because there's people assigned to her anyways. So let me show these comments. We have Ruby. She said there's a lot of controversy around reverse racism. Racism is racial prejudice plus racial discrimination plus the institutional power that affects an entire racial group. So by definition, there isn't racism against white folks. There can be prejudice against white people, though. Thank you for sharing, Ruby. And I'm sure there is. When I learned it, when I was 10 years ago in African American Studies class when we talked about reverse racism. So I'm sure it's changed. Things like that are always changing and stuff like that. Yamilet, she wrote, she is pretty much bringing more fire into the racism cards. Instead of being an example and to stop and divide of racism, she's putting more flame to it. I it, I think as a mayor, you have to be for all your citizens. So I can see that.
I mean, what if Donald Trump did that?
What she kind of didn't he kind of do that? Like
Oh, probably. Who knows? That man did so much.
that
Probably.
that
I
man was
wouldn't be surprised.
directly like, this is a great example. He did that to a lot of black women reporters, especially. He was bold and arrogant, and he was just like, I'm not talking to you, right? Like he would literally not want to just talk to them, or he would discredit them, or he would like talk down to them, right? So that was his approach, but it's essentially similar in a sense of his approach was just, Donald Trump approach, but he still wasn't answering to black and brown reporters. There was like he would kick him out. I've seen Donald Trump kick out. Oh, you guys probably know this man's name. He's a reporter. He's from like Channel 44. He's like really popular. He does like their Nightline news, like Primer Impacto type stuff. If you guys know what I'm talking about, he's like really pepper. I forget his name. He's really popular. Like if you think of media in Spanish, this is the only guy that you think about. Like, but he's like really like pepper hair. Maybe someone will know who I'm talking about. But he got kicked out of the press conference with Donald Trump because he was asking questions about what was happening with the kids in the cages, I believe it was, and how he was calling Mexicans rapists, right? And he got kicked out. So just something to think about. His approach was
I just,
terrible.
that's the thing. Like, if Donald Trump did something and it was considered wrong, then it was wrong.
Yeah.
Then you can't go and do it yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe those people standing in solidarity just don't want to appear to be taking a handout, which is kind of what it can feel like. But this is what minorities have wanted forever. People always want to make a stink about everything. Yeah, and then Angel said, "Oi, yeah, this is a good conversation. I mean, if it's wrong, it's wrong, right?" And I guess this is just a topic that we wanted to discuss. Like,
Yeah, and
how
it's
more do
funny.
you
I never heard that definition from what Ruby said. I never heard that definition, but I've never actually cared enough to Google it. You know, when I was raised, it was racism is judging somebody or deliberately not liking somebody or Xing somebody or cancel culture somebody because based on the color of their skin, not their character, not how they treat you, or if they treat somebody that you love unjustly or they do something that's wrong like a crime. You know, it's solely based off of I don't like you, or I'm not going to talk to you, or I hate you because of the color of your skin. That's what I kind of grew up with. So I was surprised to hear that definition, and I have never even Googled it. But
Yeah, it's something to bring awareness and to think about. And, you know, that's why I like these conversations because everyone has opinions and feedback. And here we go. Someone knew who I'm talking about. I knew it. I think you're talking about George Ramos. That's exactly who I'm talking about, Lorena. I just couldn't figure out his name, but you got it. That's exactly who I was talking about. He got kicked out of the office, and there was a video, and he was like thrown out of it, and I was like, dang, like that's pretty harsh, right? So this is a great conversation to have. Is it right what she's doing? You know, I think even they're gonna journalists are gonna support each other. Like the media, from what I know about media, is you can lose your job like that. You know, like let's say like when I used to work in PR and I would call one media person, I'd call like 6 months later and they were like gone. Like because there's like constantly shifting, they're constantly moving them. Like it's really rare for someone to be in a position in media for the same position for a long time. Like they're always like it's a what's it called? What's that word? Where they keep coming in.
turnaround,
They have a high turnover. Yeah. So like
turnover. Yeah.
so they'll come in, they'll go to a different newspaper, they'll go to a different company. Like this is common in media. So yeah, this is interesting conversation for sure. So I would love to keep talking about this, but let's go into our second conversation. Palestine and Israel, right? So even myself, I was ignorant to the fact of what exactly was going on out there, right? And I was trying hard to find someone that can come today and speak, have a guest that can be a little bit more knowledgeable in this topic. So, and I will still try to bring someone down the road. But, this entire time, what you're told is it's a holy war. It's a holy war, right? It's a holy war. So the holy war, what is the holy war, right? It's um well, the way I perceived it was that it was the Muslim faith and the Jewish faith fighting for the same land because of who God said that land belongs to, right? So the Christian faith feels like, well, this land belongs to Christians, to Jewish because of the first son, but then the Muslim faith is like, no, this is our land because the first son was actually Ishmael, who's the son of Hagar, who you kicked out, Abraham, and sent to the wilderness to survive. So that's where all of this is stemming from, right? That's what I was under the impression. And then as I started watching, social media is great because then it brings these
Yep.
things, it brings you this knowledge that you wouldn't have known from another country. And then I started watching my Facebook friends and started seeing how is
Yeah.
Israel fighting and defending themselves against
Yeah.
a nation that has no military, that
Yeah.
has no weapons. They're
Yeah.
basically just killing innocent civilians. Um, it's essentially genocide what's going on right now, right? So then I stopped in my tracks. I was like, hold up, what the heck's going on here, right? Like, let me really research this a little bit more. And what's happening is Israel is taking people from their homes who are from Palestine, who've been there for hundreds of years, right? I'm talking about families have been living in this house for hundreds of years, and they're removing them for whatever reason they're giving them X, Y, and Z. I don't recall the reason, but
Well, because they don't have one.
if they don't have, yeah, they don't have one. They give them some bullshit excuse, and then
Eviction.
if they evict them, yeah, and these families are fighting for their homes, and then you bring in a Jewish family to move in, that then you all of a sudden bring Jewish settlers into there. So essentially what's trying to happen is they're just removing Palestinians from their homes, and then they're bringing in Jewish families, right? So I wasn't aware of this, and I started noticing in media, and I guess the United States supports Israel. They've been pro Israel for, when I read an article, and you guys can research it, they've been supporting Israel since, they became a nation, I guess, in the 40s, 1940s or something like that. So, and everything kind of kicked off, I guess, more bombings and stuff during Ramadan, which Ramadan just ended like a week or two ago. So I wanted to bring this to conversation because just to educate the viewers, if anyone, maybe some people knew, some people didn't know, but I was in shock when I like found that out. I was like, wait, what? This is what's going on? I wasn't aware. And a lot of Black Lives Matter protesters are supporting Palestinians because of the domestic struggle. It's very similar to what Black Lives Matter is going through, if that makes sense. Like they find it that they have similar causes or similar reasons how they're feeling. I guess it's stirring something up here on younger Americans. I don't know if you have anything to say now or thoughts.
Well, I was always just confused about this because I've been of the Christian faith since I was little. And so you always heard, the Jewish people are God's people and to support the Jewish people. So it's always supporting Israel. And I would say, I was raised by baby boomers. And our president is a baby boomer. Joe
Mm,
Biden, and I think Obama was the only president that wasn't a baby boomer, perhaps.
No,
And
Obama, in the article I just read, he also supported Israel. He said
yeah,
they have the right to defend themselves, but defend themselves from who exactly?
yeah, and it's like it's just like, so I also, just like you, was took to social media to find out. And so in my life, no matter how many times people explained it, I never understood it. Like, why is this fight? And then it's always like it's a holy fight. But then if you read the history books and you educate yourself out of a religious thing, and you just look at it historically, it was like that basically sometime after World War I, the European Jews were like, "Oh, I want to move back. This is a holy land, and I want to move back." Because when you think about World War I in Britain, um, they had that day of the fog with Churchill, where the fog like killed people, and it was so bad with all
Oh,
the pollution and stuff that happened back then and stuff. And they're like, "Oh, we want to go, and this is our home." And like Britain came in to try to negotiate, apparently, like, "Hey, let some of these people move back to their land and stuff." And Palestinians were like, "Okay, you can have like that part over here, but it's like, this is Palestine. Like, that's, it's not, this is our land or whatever." And then, like, during the war or whatever, they kept pushing for more and more land. And then Britain kind of was like, "Deuces, bye," during World War II and stuff. And then all of a sudden they had land, and then there was arguments over how to split the land and everything. And it's just been kind of going like back and forth. And so that was the first time that I saw something that it was like not a holy war, and like this was just land. And like, I don't know, like, for me being a Christian, there's a lot of things that are promised to me that I understand from my faith I'm not going to get, and I have to wait until my death and be reunited with God to get. So what am I going back and like being like, "Oh, my God said it." No, God would take care of that for me. That's
yeah.
how my faith is. And I know that the Jewish people don't understand, Jesus, or they don't accept him, I should say. They don't believe in him. But like, I don't know, like, it just seems a little over, like, if that land was took from you, let God give you back the land. And I see that history in the Old Testament with the Jews wandering around, and God making them wander around and saying, "You need to learn your lesson," and things like that. And like, just looking at the Old Testament, it just seems like entitled, I guess. Because like, as a Christian, I would not, from my religious standpoints, I would not go back and be like, "This is, God said this is my land, and this is our right." I don't know. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess the question is, how would God see this situation, right? Would it be, would, is
mhm,
God hurt? Yeah, innocent people are being killed. So we know what's right and we know what's wrong. And what's wrong is, and I shared a post, Bernie Sanders introduced a bill where they're going to stop funding their military, and the likelihood of it passing, it will pass, but because a lot of these baby boomers, like you said, are retiring and are dying, so now this younger generation is coming to play, and they're like, wait, no, this is wrong. What are you giving them all this money? I think it's billions of dollars. We're not talking about little 100K here. We're talking about billions of dollars that they send. And every time in that article that I read, when a president is going running for office, they go to a lot of these Israeli organizations where it's like 20,000 Israelis to get them to support them to get into office. So and I don't know more, I wish I was a little more educated on it, but this is from what I've been reading thus far on what's going on in the world. Um it's sad, at the end of the day, I guess as believers, right? They're still your brothers and sisters, right? Like, I'm Christian. Yeah, they're Muslim, but I'm still going to love on them. You're not called to hate. You're not called you're not called to hate, right? You're not, as a believer, you're called to love on everybody. right? And just because they're Muslim, you're not going to hate on them. You're not going to, wish ill on them. You're going to pray for them. You pray for your enemies. You don't hate on your enemies, right? Um, so I guess this is one of those things, like, what are we called to do as believers, right? And I know I'm taking this a little bit into a little different type of conversation, but as a believer, we don't do those things. You pray, you believe with them, you do what is right, right? And we know clearly what's right and what's wrong based off biblical principles.
Yeah, and too, if somebody from the Christian faith, like there was a time where God always wanted war, and from my understanding, and perhaps yours too, God, sent His only begotten Son for a lot of the sins, so God didn't have to fight a lot of things that you see in the Old Testament, the war and things like that, and the death that God would bestow on His people stopped when the Son came. And Jesus is common in the Christian community, is commonly called the King of Peace.
Mm,
So doing these things to people should, that's like pre-Jesus, and Jesus is here now. So we shouldn't be warring. We should be having peace. We should be, love thy neighbor and things. And I just don't understand, why people can't live in peace, with, where people are supposed to come to Jesus and accept Jesus as their savior on their own free will. So for us to be discipling to them, and hopefully that they come to us, like not dropping bombs on them and being like, oh, you don't, well, I guess Israel doesn't believe in Jesus Christ either, but oh, you don't believe in this, so I'm just gonna bomb your house. Like that's, I've never ever, there's been no spiritual advisor in my life that has ever like been like violence is the answer.
yeah, yeah.
So
So true.
I'm wondering if this is not so much of a holy fight, is what I'm trying to say, because everything that I know from my religion and my faith, it doesn't align with it. So it makes me really skeptical of like, oh, hold on a minute. Like, I was not taught war and violence and all of this stuff. So what are they doing? It
For sure.
seems like it's
For sure.
skeptical. It's skeptical. It's very like, what are they doing over there?
For sure. It is. It is. It's definitely something to bring more awareness around and see what the heck is really going on. So definitely you guys can research this yourself. If this is interesting, go find out more. We could talk more. I'm sure this is not going to end, right? So we can talk more about this on another show, and I'll see if I could bring somebody that can speak more on this, more, that's more knowledgeable around this topic. And then finally, we wanted to talk about this topic. COVID vaccines. I'm laughing because it just seems like, is it going to be like a crazy time right now, right? With one, did you get your COVID vaccine? Will you get your COVID vaccine? Um, Two, how are we going to prove that you have your COVID vaccine, right? Like this whole like proving that I've been immune so I don't have to wear a mask. Right now they're saying you don't have to wear a mask. You can walk around without it if you've gotten vaccinated. And like, I guess at this point, for me personally, I'm just like, we have to live with this. COVID ain't leaving. Just like polio, right? Like at one point in life, polio was killing a lot of people. Then they had to figure out a vaccine and give everyone shots to control that, right? Now, like this is part of what life is, right? It's polio's dormant because we have all these immunizations.
Yeah.
So now what? Right? Like, so I don't know what's your take on it. You were saying something about what Chicago was going to start implementing or considering to implement.
Yeah, and also we are going to talk about the class too, like the statistics of. Did you want to do that rundown first, or did you want to do that after?
Yeah, I could share that. It's interesting because I
The
this morning
statistics. Yeah.
the New York Times put out an article that said the statistics of Black and brown minorities, in addition to Republicans are not getting vaccinated, and what do they all have in common is the working class. It has nothing to do with race, it has everything to do with class. So it's mainly the working class that are not being vaccinated because they're skeptical, because they don't trust it, blah, 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 all these reasons. What's the difference is, again, the education, right? So like if you see black and brown educated minorities, they're getting immunized, they're getting their shots. Democrats are getting their shots, but Republicans and working class black and brown um, people are not getting the shots. And yeah, the it's interesting to see that you can see the difference in who's getting the shots and who is not.
Yeah, I think that's a little, it's alarming to me. I think with the history of vaccines is, there was a time in American history where they, with the African Americans in general, where they were quote unquote giving vaccines and they were actually giving a disease to them. I think it was syphilis.
Syphilis.
It
Yep.
was, yeah. And they were running a test and they were paying these people. And, so I understand that, because now you think you have a couple generations since that happened, or maybe even if that happened in the 1900s, we're only talking about like two generations removed from there. So of people that, like my grandparents would, if I was African American, my grandparents would have been the ones to get infected with syphilis and have this trial on and suffered. And so my grandparents, you understand the role that they play in a household, are saying, don't get the vaccine, don't trust the American government because of what happened to me. That's like your grandparents. We're not talking about centuries ago. That's a really close relationship there. And a lot of grandparents are the matriarchs of their families. So,
Mhm.
it's,
Mm.
that's so close. It hits so close to home. Um, but then also I saw this thing that they're trying to figure out, like for Chicago, like how are places like Lollapalooza going to happen? And it's, how are they going to show like their cards and stuff? And people are saying that the cards are too bulky. And so there's this app that was created in New York, and Chicago is having talks with New York, asking questions about it, about basically like they can connect live events. Like if you're Lollapalooza, if you're going to have a concert in the future, or a Bears game or a Bulls game, things like that, you would automatically put your event on this app, and then the ticket holders would be required. So I got a ticket to a Bears game in 2024. So I'm going to go to the app and I'm going to screen my card. And then the app is going to tell the stadium this person is okay to enter because they're vaccinated.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out, how do we do events like Lollapalooza, and can we use this app? Because New York apparently has rolled it out. But the controversy is that it's like impending on people's rights. And I don't know which right that is. I don't know.
I mean, I guess
Of
yeah,
information or something. I don't know.
it's a I don't even want to, I don't know. I'm just sitting here thinking to
I know.
myself like it's overwhelming to think about. I guess for me it's like, well, you need vaccines anyways to take kids to school, right? Like
Yeah.
that's something that we the HEPA laws, right? Where but yeah, that's what it is. It's breaking HEPA laws, like where you can't share medical history. It's like
Oh,
only
okay. Okay.
between patient and doctor, and they're not supposed to like share information about your medical history to someone else. But at the end of the day, you need to show your vaccinations to school anyways. Like you need to prove that your kid's been vaccinated to go to school, regardless, for measles, polio, rubella, flu, swine flu, blue flu, white flu, whatever you want to call it. All these things that have happened in the past, like, and as you know, you have a baby, you're vaccinating your baby every 2 to 3 months when they're first born. Why? Then all of a sudden you get all these, you see these moms that I respect everyone's opinion. If you pro vax or against vax, I don't care. But I know that I've seen communities of moms that choose not to vaccinate their children, and then you hear reports of measles breakouts in these group of unvaccinated children that gather together, or you get some weird like the Black Plague appears out of nowhere and it's been dead for like 200 years. Like, why is that? Because that's why you have vaccinations. Now, I saw another person write like, and this might go a little bit outside the topic, but like it's not FDA approved yet or something like that. That's why I'm not getting it. Well, bro, a lot of your food's FDA approved and it got poison in it already. So what's the dang difference?
Well, my nephew who joined the Marines, who I don't know if he what race he identifies with, but I know that he's half African American and half white. I don't know like what he checks the box as. We've never had that conversation, but he was saying that he didn't, and nobody that he knows as a Marine has gotten it because of that fact. So our military is not being protected, and it has to be, apparently he was like, it's not political, but like apparently the military, from his understanding, and he's been in the military for less than a year, but from what he understood was that anybody in the military, in order to get vaccinated, it has to be FDA approved. And he's like, to his knowledge, that he didn't get the vaccine yet,
Mm,
which was like, that's interesting, because I would think as American government that you would want your military to not have COVID.
mm-hmm,
Well, I mean, you can still get COVID, but you'd want them to be the first to have the vaccine so that our people that protect our country don't die.
mm-hmm. So you're saying that the military is not forcing them to get vaccinated?
Yeah, that they haven't. He said, I've gotten a lot of vaccines because they're vaccinating him for other things, but that they haven't gotten the COVID because apparently it has to be
FDA approved.
FDA approved for the military to get it. And I'm just thinking, like, you think of all our forces, they're the first people that you don't want to die.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes total sense, and um, that's something to think about. We have some comments coming in, so let me show these comments. I know that this is probably from the last topic. Angels was saying, "I didn't understand what's happening either. Thank you for helping shed light on this." Hallelujah. Then someone shared with me that high schools will be requiring kids to be vaccinated in order to be able to go to school in the fall. I know that will be controversial. My son got his first dose last week. Then she
But
said,
how is it controversial? What is controversial when you just said all these other vaccines have to?
you have to prove all these other vaccines to begin with. I think it's different because we never had to report vaccines to outdoor events, etc., just schools. That's probably where the issue might stem from. Colleges will refuse you if you don't have all your vaccines, and the military had first option to receive it, but it's not
Oh,
forced.
okay.
So my point with the FDA is they approve things. You got some phosphate or something in your cereals. I do not buy a specific brand of cereal because there is a chemical in there that's the same chemical that they use for oil in cars or sawdust.
Yeah.
So that's
There's
FDA
lead in
approved.
baby food, in Gerber baby food. Did you know that?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure
There's
there
like
is.
metals and like all this stuff that they're like, why is this even in there?
I'm sure there is. And it's all FDA approved, right? All this FDA, like,
Yeah.
it's approved. So, like, you can put this much chemical in it. You just can't put this much chemical in it, right? So, at the end of the day, I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I'm going to get the shot. I just recovered from COVID, me and my family. It was not a fun experience at all whatsoever. I would hate to give that to someone else, right? Like, I would hate to be the person that gets someone infected and then their family member dies. I fortunately, it wasn't too bad on me. That fever was harsh a little bit, but it lasted 2 days. And then I was really fatigued. Like, and I think for me, my immune system's pretty good. I've been building my immune system all year. I've been taking a lot of vitamin C. I'm constantly taking my vitamins. So it's not like I've been preparing my body for this. I feel like you've been preparing your body for this, right? We're all going to get infected at the end of the day. I don't care how indoors you are, closed off you are, everyone's gonna eventually get this. Like, we don't even know how we got infected. We have
Yep.
speculation, but we don't know how we got infected. So that's scary, especially if you're taking all the precautions in the world. You got your mask. I used to be the hand sanitizer lady. Like, I
Oh,
was,
nice.
and now I'm like, bro, I got infected. I got the antibodies. Like, let me, like, it is what it is. Like, I'm immune for 3 months. Like, I'm sitting here like, we went through it. Now we know what it feels like and how it, we experienced it. Now it's like, yeah, I'm going to get vaccinated. Once I was thinking of getting my antibodies checked first before I get vaccinated to make sure if I have the antibodies, I'm not going to get vaccinated, right? Because I already have the antibodies. After our conversation over the weekend, Nara, I thought of that. Like, why am I going to get the shot for right away if I have the antibodies? But I will get the shot. You know, I definitely will get it for my daughter, and I will get it for when in the fall they're gonna start giving it to 2-year-olds and up. So by fall, sometime in the fall, there'll be a shot available for 2-year-olds and up. And the only reason why I know is because my doctor already told me to prepare for my middle child to get it, who's 7, right? So, um, is it controversial? I mean, I guess you're right. It's like, is it that hard for you to show a vaccination card? I
I mean,
mean,
but I just don't understand, like in general, through this whole pandemic, why people are like refusing to act like this is not a once in 100 year pandemic. Like, oh, it's just COVID. Oh, it's this. Not like, like, and from a Christian, I've been hearing a lot of don't live your life in fear. Okay, but there's a difference between living your life in fear and living responsibly in the middle of a pandemic.
yeah, for
Like,
sure.
and I've just kind of struggled with that, like the whole, with my family members, during this whole pandemic. So I was pregnant when that happened, and at the time of my pregnancy, I remember having conversations with my doctor, and at that time, when in the beginning of the pandemic, and I shared this with you this weekend, so I'll share it with the audience, but at the beginning of it, it was like if the parents had COVID, the baby had COVID. And so when the baby was born, then the baby would go into 14-day quarantine because they were afraid the baby would die. And, I was, told by my doctor, like, hey, you really have to take this seriously. These could be the repercussions. Like, and then my doctor also told me that your due date not until December, January. Things are going to change because that's how the science changes. So, but this, she confirmed, because I heard it as a rumor and I was scared because you also had to give birth by yourself then. So here I am, a first time mom, like, oh my God, I have to do this all by my own. And then maybe my baby will be took if I got the COVID vaccine. And I remember texting, people that were close to me and like just freaking out about it. And at that point, my husband and I decided that we were shutting everything down. We didn't socialize. We didn't see friends. I was basically like, living in my home. I called the home the dungeon, because I was like, I was like, I didn't want my baby to be took from me. And that was my thing. It wasn't like I had this huge fear, but I could not imagine after this little human being coming out into a new world, and then it's just like gone for 14 days from everything it's ever known. I was like, that's not going to happen to my child. Well, sure enough, by the time I gave birth, my husband and I both had COVID. When I was pregnant, there was 9 months later, it was that, the baby, the transfer from the mother to the baby is highly unlikely. In 9 months' time, my husband and I, he was able to stay for the birth. The baby was tested, and I got it in November, and I gave birth in December. The baby was tested. She came out negative, so she had never gotten the COVID. Um, the Not the COVID vaccine, but she had never gotten COVID. So everything was good. And I gave birth. My husband was by my side. But that led us to get the vaccine for her because, we wanted to be around for her. And the vaccine, I think that there's a lot of misinformation. So I just want to use this platform to say the vaccine, there's no herd immunity comes from the way that herd immunity comes from, if everybody got vaccinated, nobody could get COVID anymore because we would all be okay from it, but not everybody is. So how it stands right now is, the vaccine is not a cure. It's just basically saying that you're not going to die from it. And I just want to put that out there in case anybody was confused about those things, that yes, if we had herd immunity, like the measles, or what were you, did you mention
Polio.
polio before?
Yep.
That's what would happen. It would be eradicated in that way because everybody would be immune to it. So it kind of wouldn't exist. In America, only less than half of the population, I think 37% or 47%, something with a 7 in it, has been vaccinated. And I don't know. I just want to get vaccinated for my baby. We went through it, and I was scared for my daughter. I was never scared. If I pass away, I know where I'm gonna go, and I'm excited for that. But I was scared for my daughter to not have a mom or anything. And I remember you said, "Well, what were you thinking when you got it?" And I was just oh, thank God I'm so far along that if anything happened to me, my daughter has a high chance of surviving. That was just automatically being thankful that I got it when I did, and not
Earlier.
earlier and stuff like that. But that was those thoughts are scary. And so for people that never got it, and people just coming out here we're not in the middle of a pandemic,
Yeah.
come on, guys, just go get the shot so we can,
Live a
it can
normal
be
life.
eradicated. Yeah.
Yeah, let's finally get rid of this thing and just, yeah, I agree. We have a comment here, Angel said God is sending the life raft, and people are saying they don't need it because God will protect them. You know, I love that story. You've heard of the story. I think I've said it before, the one about, and you probably heard it in different movies, where the story of the kid is drowning, or the man is drowning, and he asks God, hey God, send me a boat, rescue me, God. And then a boat comes, hey, you need help. He's like, no, God got me. And he's still drowning. And then another boat comes, hey, you need help. He's like, no, God's got me. And he's drowning, and then he dies and then goes to heaven. He's like, God, why didn't you save me? He's like, I send you 2 boats, you idiot. He didn't say idiot, but that's the joke. So it's they're sending to me, I always believe God gives the wisdom. God is the one that gives the wisdom to the scientists, and thank God we do have people that are trying to figure out how to, have you guys ever seen, is it Contagion? Have you seen that movie? That's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
If you watch that movie Contagion, it kind of gives you a picture of the process of how they try to get a vaccine out. And I mean, obviously in the movie they speeded it up, and but you see what happens behind the scenes, right? So we have
Can I touch on that real fast before you go?
go ahead.
I just want to say too, another misinformation that is out there is people are skeptical because they say, well, how did they get a vaccine so fast? But what's really, I just want to put it out there that if you think about this, in the entire world, the whole medical field and scientists bunkered down to come up with a vaccine. I don't know if people know this or not, but from my understanding, the flu vaccine was the same as it was last year because everybody was so busy with this COVID vaccine. And I call it COVID vaccine because I just want to let people know the coronavirus has been around for a really long time and it's been tracked, and they have a lot of data on coronavirus. And that's part of the reason why they were able to get a COVID vaccine out there is they weren't just, this is not, the COVID-19 strand was new. Coronavirus was not new. So they already had information in their arsenal to be able to sit down along with the entire medical, of the world, not just of America, not just of France, not just of China, the whole world bunkered down to try to come up with this vaccine 24 hours a day. It's the only thing that they were focused on. Of course, they're going to come up with it in a year, and they have years of data on coronavirus that they were
Yeah.
basing this off of.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. Thank you for sharing. And yeah, Pippy Pappy said COVID is a massive exaggeration. I mean, I don't think it's uh it is what it is. That's your opinion, good for you. And I definitely yeah, I'm not going to share the rest of the comments, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. Everyone has their opinions. That's what the show is all about. We can say whatever the heck we want, right? Like we could talk about whatever we want, whether it's religion, whether it's faith, whether it's politics. That's the whole purpose. We're all about that. So, we can say whatever we want on this show. So, God bless. God bless, right? Like this is the whole it's conversation, and we come from our background, our belief system, what we feel, right? What like it's opinion based. You can have your opinion, we have our opinion. It is what it is. We respect all opinions. So thank you so much, Nara. I know we gotta wrap up. But I appreciate this conversation because I think it's really needed. We all need this.
Yes, I hope people enjoyed it, and thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, thank
Next
you.
week is going to be Memorial Day weekend, Memorial Day, so people have to still tune in.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll still have a show on Monday morning. Maybe we might I'll talk to Nara and see if we'll do it a little bit later because I know people like to sleep in. So we can do it a little later. We'll let you know and I'll put the information out there. But again, if you guys want to learn more about us, you can, reach out to Nara. If you guys have any questions, if you want to connect with her, and then of course, our website, womenselfdevelopment.org. You can follow us on our social media platforms, Women's Self Development. And of course, we have our free women's Facebook community. If anybody, we're all a big supportive, like, we are the rah rah group. We are the support system. And you shared a interesting fact, Nara, over the weekend. You said that moms only have new moms or just moms in general have a supportive community. What is it, the number? You said 50% or something?
56% of new moms are without a community due to the COVID restrictions.
So that is like when you said that, it was like, oh man, like that is a high. Only half of the women have a supportive community, right? So we are
Yeah.
that community that encourages one another, loves on one another, supports one another. We're open about faith and religion in our community. So if you love God, we love God too. We're all business women. Majority of us, like 90% of us, are business women as well. So check us out, join us, and I hope you guys have an amazing and wonderful day as well. As Nara, you have a great week.
Thank you, and you too, and thank you everybody for watching.
God bless you guys. Bye.